So now what? You've probably asked yourself that question 100 times because for decades you've been doing what you have to. And now you're wondering, have I actually done enough to do what I want to do? Would you like some help? That's why we're here, to take you from I have to wow, I really get to. I'm Brad Johansson with Omega Wealth Private Capital, and this is Wise Money. Thanks so much for being with us on Wise Money. Brad Johansson alongside Joe Wilson III, Omega Wealth Private Capital, as we get you ready.
Nice shirt. I mean, it's like we're like twins here with the shirts.
We keep matching this stuff and trying to figure the whole thing out.
Little ESPN, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Moving forward, we like to get people prepped. And the interesting thing, and some of these things just pop into my head, and as the camera goes off, I just go, you know what I was thinking? We go through a lot. Life is tough. I mean, it hits you right in the face. Just when you don't think it's going to hit you right in the face and you go, where do I go from here? And I think for a lot of us, the understanding needs to be that we go through what we go through. Some of it is suffering, to be able to share and help other people through it on the other side. I know that sounds cheesy or cliche at this point, but that's what we do every day, is with perspective of understanding where you are, and you're different than everybody else, and trying to get to that perfect 10. We use this a bunch. I've kind of used this now in some of our
it's
workshops.
Great. I love it.
That the add up is different for everyone, that it's a 5 plus 5 or a 7 plus 3 or an 8 plus 2. But for a lot of us, it's a 13 minus 3 because we've had some loss. We've tried to figure out how to regain our footing during some of this. When I say the perspective, you've been working for a long time, and we've been talking about this for a long time, and we're finally getting to that spot where the book is out. And what you have done is said, you know what, I've been through a lot of this stuff. I'm now going to share some of the wisdom that I have so that everybody can have it for free so you can get to your perfect 10.
We talk about perspective, and the fact of the matter is I've been in this almost 19 years, and I've seen some amazing markets, one of the greatest bull runs we've seen. And I am a big believer in the market. I think there's more good years than bad years. But over that time frame, I also remember getting started right before the great financial crisis, when just the world was melting by the minute. And I remember going into downtown Cincinnati, which had a big kind of a mega firm there, and there were 40 advisors, and we were just getting started. And I remember just watching and hearing and listening to just life. It had shifted for a lot of folks, and we'd be there at 4:30 in the morning because the European markets were going crazy, and we'd be there till 9 o'clock at night. You go home and get some sleep if you could, and you get back in there. And it was an amazing way, in hindsight now, to see this career, because I was able to witness folks that had done retirement planning well. And then I saw the other side of that, where folks were struggling through that process. And it formed me. It positioned me to look at things differently, probably other than if I would have been started after that. And so when we say perspective, we are able to help retire people all the time. We see hundreds of folks come through our doors with statements just like you and go, help, we've amassed this. What does all this mean? And I think that's where we start. We have this massive money. And a lot of folks go, well, if I quit, now what? Where do I go to get my first dollar? Where should I go to be most tax efficient? How should I manage my money? Should I get really conservative? Should I do it in a cookie cutter TV dinner or target date fund and just hope that the good years beat the bad years? There's so much ambiguity there. And one thing's certain in life, it's the certainty of uncertainty. It's going to be certain. There's going to be uncertain times.
It's going to change.
And so how do we prepare for that? We start, and the reason I wrote this book is just saying there are 5 things you must have in place to stay retired and save money. If you miss one of these 5, it will cost you capital. So when's the best time to prepare for rain? When it's sunny out.
When it's sunny.
You don't wait till it's storming. And I think that's where so many folks kind of misguide through this. Look at what's going on in the markets right now. We are at all-time highs. Interest rates are still solid. So there's amazing places where you can go and get some safe fixed income money. This is a great time if you're getting ready to retire or you've just retired to really take a pause and go, okay, let's make sure we have our income. Let's make sure we have our investments are in a tax efficient manner. So when they grow, they're coming back to me tax efficiently. We do in-depth tax planning because if you haven't paid any taxes on that money, if it's all in a tax deferred account, call it the 400s, you owe debt. They're going to put on the screen here a little bit, our wisetaxbill.com. It's a way for you to go on, take right there from your little lazy boy, your favorite couch, take a picture of that QR code. It'll take you there. Just go to your computer, wisetaxbill.com. Just a few minutes, you can put in some basic information. You can kind of adjust what you think your rate of return might be, where your taxes are. So play around with it. But it's going to spit out a number and show you really the tax debt on that money. We have to look at that because if we're not taking advantage of tax savings right now and planning, it has such an impact 20, 25, 30 years down the road. We look at asset preservation. We look at capital preservation. We're living longer. We say it every show. Your mom is still 96. We've got clients that are in their 90s. We're living longer. Longevity risk is real. One, that money has to last. Two, medical. There's medical issues and the costs that come with that. When you look at maybe needing nursing home care or in-home care, that is a huge eroder of wealth if you haven't planned efficiently. And ultimately, as the good book says, it's appointed to every man a time to die. What do we do with the assets from a legacy standpoint when you pass? How do we pass it on tax efficiently? So all of your hard-earned money is passing the right way where you want it to go. All 5 of those agreements have to be together. And that's why I wrote the book.
5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. And that can be yours as you come into our appointment to complimentary, put together a retirement readiness plan for you. 844-657-1072. We're going to talk about more of those 5 agreements and why it's so important for you to be enmeshed in that plan. 844-657-1072, wisetaxbill.com. We'll be right back.
After being in this industry for almost 2 decades, I can tell you one of the largest areas the modern retirees tend to underestimate is legislative risk. You have to control what you can control, and that is an effective financial plan that is complete and holistic, that understands where you're going to get your income, where you're going to get the growth. Have you hedged the risk of longevity, making sure you don't run out of money? And how have you had asset preservation that if healthcare needs come your way, that you have enough money to take care of you or your spouse through those later years? Get a sound income plan adjusted for taxes and inflation that protects you and your assets regardless of what's happening in Washington, D.C. Click the link below to schedule your own personalized time with one of our amazing fiduciaries so you can be and stay retirement ready.
At OW Private Capital, we understand that your retirement plan isn't just a set of numbers. It's the culmination of a lifetime of hard work, sacrifice, and dedication. Led by our founder and CEO, Joe Wilson, a seasoned financial advisor with nearly 2 decades of experience, he spent years inside large regional firms, and Joe saw the need for something different, plain-spoken advice. No Wall Street jargon. Now at OW Private Capital, our mission is built on the 5 agreements to provide the confidence that you need to be and stay retirement ready. Our team will take a comprehensive assessment of your goals and craft a flexible strategy to do what you have to do today so that you can do what you want to do tomorrow. From creating an income engine to maximizing tax efficiency, we help you create a legacy that lasts. Reach out to OW Private Capital. Let's put together a plan so that you can be and stay retirement ready. Thanks for being with us on Wise Money. Brad Johansson with Joe Wilson. We're talking about the book, The 5 Agreements, that we want you to have in your hands. And the reason is, it's kind of been brought up to us, Joe, that we all like to have a partner. Or at least we like to be assisted to the finish line. Maybe an accountability partner is probably the best way to put it. And I liken this book to an accountability partner on trying to get to the finish line with the perfect 10, with the sunset glowing, in the spot that we want to be, which is different than everybody else's spot. But this, no matter where you are, is your accountability partner.
Think about this. For years, you've been working and you've been amassing this money, and now what? Right? Now what? How do we do phase 2 of this? Or maybe you just started in this and you're going, wow, okay, well, I didn't think of that. This book is not War and Peace. I didn't want to write a 500-page book. I wanted to write something that someone could sit down with their spouse and just read through this and go, okay, where are we on this journey? Do we have an income engine? Do we have reliable income that's going to last us to and through retirement? How do we structure that? What are some possibilities? And if you don't know, well, you can also just schedule a time with our team. How about our investments? It's amazing to me, Vanguard, which is kind of a do-it-yourself firm, we
Right.
utilize some of their ETFs.
Right.
They're fantastic. It's a passive investment. We break down the difference between passive and active in the book. You can read that under the chapter of investments. But the study came from them that someone that had $500,000 did it on their own, on average, has about $1.69 million. That's a fabulous gain.
This is over a 20-year period.
But with an advisor, it can go to $3.4 million. Why? And part of that is covered in the book. Understanding some of these strategies. Is it tax efficient? This is the tax debt we are seeing right now. Folks come in and they just don't realize it. Let me ask you this: if you were going to go to dinner and it's expensive, let's go to Skyline. You got to pay with either cash or a card. You can't take your retirement statement and pull it out of your backpack and say, hey, take it out of here. You have to convert that into cash. The tax debt that's sitting on so many folks' accounts right now is astronomical. It is shocking people because you don't realize if you're 55 or you're 60, you've saved $1 million. You saved $1 million too. Maybe you saved $500,000. What does that look like after 20 to 25, 30 years? When you do start to come into that RMD, required minimum distribution age, and have to take money out, you got a tax time bomb. There's debt. We've got a window right now that is probably going to be extended. This is the time to sit down with a strategy on taxes.
Taxes are on sale.
And so we go through all of this. We talk about longevity risk and how do you protect against those times when you need to get money out, when the market's not going to be in favor. There's going to be negative 20% years, or 2022s, and God forbid 2000s, and 2001, 2002, 2020. We could go back through here the last couple of decades. There's going to be bad times in the market. Where do you go to get your income? You better have an income hedge. You better have some of that money protected against that market loss. You could always get capital and not have to sell it on sale. And then legacy, you got to have a legacy plan. How do you pass this on to the next generation?
The book is The 5 Agreements to Be and Stay Retirement Ready. A copy is yours for free as you come in for an appointment so that we can put together a retirement readiness review for you. Isn't it time to have an accountability partner? 844-657-1072. We'd love to be there to help. That's what we do. Do it now. 844-657-1072. Love to see you in the office.
I'm going to pay shipping and handling on that. I mean, There's no cost. Yeah, and we're going to because I think this is so valuable for you to just get an idea. And like I said, you can read it quickly. You can get it gathering, get your statements out and do some of this. Go to wisetaxbill.com as you're reading it and kind of get an understanding of what's my tax debt. And then pick up the phone and we're happy to sit with you and help you understand, here's where you are and here's some potential tracks to get you where you want to be. I mean, that's as simple as that.
Free shipping and handling? Come on. 844-657-1072. Scan the QR code. We'll be right back.
Louis, I want to talk to you a little bit about inherited IRAs. I believe you have a personal story to share?
Yes. My mom had a heart attack at 59.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And this was back in 2015. And so my sister and I both inherited an IRA from her. And at the time, we are able to stretch out the required distributions that we have to take each year for the rest of our lives.
Okay.
One of the biggest changes that's happened in the last 5 or 6 years was with the Secure Act. And when the Secure Act passed, it changed an inherited IRA when going to the next generation from a stretch IRA, being able to take the distributions for the rest of their lives, to a 10-year rule.
Wow.
They have to withdraw all the money by the end of the 10th year after somebody passes. And what that's leading to is just a huge, huge tax time bomb.
Yes.
And the government has their hands in this pie. Is there a strategy? What can I do? Are big questions we get. What can I do to shift this money to where that future growth is no longer taxed? And when it goes to my kids, it's no longer taxed. And we have so many tools in our tool belt to help people navigate that situation.
Louis, I can't think of a better time for people to call in and take advantage of that, because obviously everyone deserves to have their own tax map drawn out for them so they know exactly what the implications of taxes will be, especially with inherited IRAs. And it goes all hand in hand with proper legacy planning.
Cynthia's so right.
The Queen Mother, I call her.
It is.
She's awesome.
Legacy planning, which has to include long-term care. Ooh, don't want long-term care. Not long-term care insurance. We don't really like it either.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
Here's the fact, though. Recent studies will say that 70% of people past 65 are going to need some form of long-term care.
So we better prepare for the rain.
How do we not like long-term care?
So two things. One, there's traditional long-term care insurance. And the challenge with that is you would put money in, and what we have found, and what was always a concern is, as interest rates were lower than probably what a lot of these carriers had thought, they had raised the premium to such an amount that it's just crazy. And the other fact is, a lot of times, if you didn't need the long-term care, it just was money gone. I don't like that. I like the idea is at our firm, we want to say what options, if we need to use it for long-term care, is there a possibility that we could use that? But what if we're healthy? What if we want to go take the kids on a trip to Europe or Disney or Gatlinburg? Use that money to live. So we like things that have flexibility, that have the ability to pivot, to change. That's what we sit down and focus with on when folks are putting together this capital for long-term care, because it is true. Folks are going to need it more and more. Why? We're living longer. The math says we're living longer. We're going to have more issues. We're going to need, maybe it's not even permanent. Maybe it's just an area where you got to go in for short term and it's 3 months or 4 months. We're seeing that more and more and more. Why not prepare for that now? Set aside some assets that have a dual role. If you need it for that, there's a way that you can use it for long-term care.
Here's what I want to forgive my interruption. I want to point this out because we do this in workshops as well, and we'll throw up a slide of Ron and Nancy, and Ron's going to live to 85.
Yeah.
But Nancy's going to live to 90.
Yeah.
Because women are smarter. They figure it out. They go a little bit longer than us. And we haven't planned for what if it's just us in long-term care. And I've got to take care of him. I've got to take care of her in long-term care. We didn't plan for this. And what do I do once it's just me? How do you work that plan in?
You plan for it now, and you plan for the flexibility. We've talked about this before. I mean, you talked about being coached and watching halftime adjustments and having to pivot because the game moves. Reality happens. Life comes with surprises. But if you can start talking about it now, 10, 15 years ahead, and start segment some of that money and say, we're going to segment this over here to use if that happens. But if not, we can bring it back and use it here. You got to start planning now. When's the best time to plan for retirement? 20 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday, an hour ago. You got to do it now, because there are challenges that come up, and so many folks that come in for the first time when sit down with us, this is something they have never considered.
All right, we've talked about the book, and I want to make sure that the book is out there. So if we can throw that up as well, because Joe has just told us that he's going to pay for the shipping.
Yeah, I think this is something that you need to have access to, and it's a quick read, but it's really going to help you formulate a thought process that goes, I've amassed this money. Here's what, for 20, 30 years, I've gotten up, I've not hit snooze, I've gone on my alarm, I've delayed vacations, I've delayed car purchases, I've saved this money. Now what? This is going to help you just kind of get an idea, or maybe you've just retired, you're going, boy, do we have these 5 agreements?
Yeah.
Well, here's an opportunity to just check and see and get an idea. And if there's questions off of that, that's why we have our phone number. You have the ability to come in and meet with one of our amazing fiduciary advisors and walk through your very own retirement readiness review, because you get one shot at retirement. And if you're missing one of these agreements, that can crush you when you look at taxes, income planning, nightmare situations with healthcare, not having a good legacy plan. All of this adds up to you have to have a comprehensive plan.
We want it in your hands. 844-657-1072. Click the QR code on your screen. Do you have a plan? Are you hearing some of this for the first time? Are you with an advisor who hasn't talked about any of those things? Maybe it's time for a second opinion. 844-657-1072. Be right back. Hi, I'm Brad Johansson. We want to make sure that our message is consistent with you. You've got to have 5 agreements to be and stay retirement ready. And if you're missing one of those, there may be a problem in what you're doing to try and make your money last until your last breath. Number 1, we want to create an income engine for you. When you lose your job, you've lost your income. How do we create an income engine so it lasts into and through retirement? We'll couple that with agreement number 2. How are your investments working to make sure that it gets you there? And number 3, have you considered your tax debt? How do we play with that so that more of your money stays in your pocket and doesn't go with the government? Number 4, we want to create asset and capital preservation so that we have a safety net to make sure that not everything is at high risk. And number 5, we want to make sure you have a legacy plan. It lasts for you, and it lasts for the people after you're gone. Let's make the 5 agreements work for you into and through retirement so you can be and stay retirement ready. Glad you're with us. So many of you are loyal viewers. We're grateful for you. Joe gets stopped in the airport all the time going, hey, watch your show all the time. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I love it. It's fun.
And we have clients who come in who go, you know what, at some point I'm going to call you. I love watching your show. At some point, I'm going to call you.
Well, life is busy.
I hearken back to, you remember the client that we have now who's so grateful that we got to it. And she said to me on the phone, I said, what are we waiting for? And she said, when I get scared, I do nothing.
It's the fear of the unknown.
Which is the worst thing that we can possibly do.
Yeah, the weight.
Which is why Joe's put the book together, The 5 Agreements, to try and be and stay retirement ready. Because we procrastinate because we're not sure we're going to make the right decision. And then we get to that point and we go, I wish I would have at some point. You said it as we went to break. The best time to make that decision was 20 years ago, but we don't have that time. Now we are in the moment to try and figure out where we're going to go. This costs you nothing to come in. It costs you nothing to read the book. But why don't we want to have the knowledge, the fear of the unknown to say, you know what, this may be something I should have done, but now I can do it. And I'm going to do it now because I have the time to work forward, because I'd like the last 20, 30 years of my life to be like I always dreamed it was going to be.
It's because there's change, and we're reluctant to change. And you've worked, and you've saved, and you've had that reliable income, and you've taken that, part of that, you've saved it, and you've amassed wealth. The challenge is you realize that income's going away. Now you got this bucket of money that's going to provide that income. Where do you start first? And so it's the ambiguity. It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of how will taxes hit, and how will this happen? What happens if a bad market? And so it just creates this pause. How many times have we seen folks come in that when they come in for the retirement readiness review and we look at them and go, you're actually there based upon your spending plan, based upon what you have set up. If we create this, cover this gap, here's your Social Security, you got an income gap. If we cover that, adjusted for inflation, we do some tax planning, let's party, go retire. And it's like a light bulb goes off because now they've got it in a clear understanding of here's where I can go. And we have hedged contingencies. If the road is blocked, we go here. And they have the confidence and the comfort. Let me ask you, do you want a reliable income regardless if the market's up or down? Or do you want an income that varies based upon the stock market? Everyone's going to say, I want something reliable. We can help with that. We set up plans that do that. What about tax-free income? What about money that's taxable when you take it out? You got to pay a big tax bill on it. Would you rather have some tax strategies that really let time work in your favor? We know how to help people with that. And so it really becomes, what are you wanting? And if this is what you want, we're going to help you sit down with our amazing team of fiduciaries and get an idea. Here's some steps that you need to do right now so you can be positioned for the tomorrow you've always wanted to have. And it's why we wrote the book. It's why we have wisetaxbill.com, so people can be aware of one of the biggest mistakes I think they're just kind of ignoring, and that's their tax debt. and start to just make people think. You shouldn't go into your advisor and go, here's what you did last year. Congratulations, go with God. That's what you did. That's a history report. Let's talk about where we're going forward, because it's not just about return on investments. It's about returning of that income and being most efficient to you and your family as you go forward.
Click the QR code, because this is a tax calculator that we put together for you to understand that your money is not all yours, and you've got a partner that you'd like to get out of your pocket. The government is going to come after this money in tax-deferred accounts. So what are we going to do and strategize for all of that?
Well, I think that's a great thing. And it's why we segment the book the way we did. I mean, we have a whole chapter just on that when it comes to tax planning and understanding how to handle this. So, maybe you feel like you've got everything covered, but we're saying tax debt and you're going, well, I never thought of that. And you see that number on Wise tax bill, because you're going to get it in just a few minutes if you fill that out and go, okay, I need to have a better understanding of this. We'll just skip to that chapter and read that. I think it's written in a way that allows folks to really start to understand kind of an educational role. Here's what I've witnessed. Here's some things you got to have in place that allows you to have that confidence. Got to have confidence in retirement.
So the 5 agreements is out there, and this is what it will cover. We go over it all the time on the income plan, on the investments, on the tax bill, on asset preservation, on legacy planning, to be and stay retirement ready. Joe's already said this. We'll pay for postage and shipping. What we'd much rather have, but you can do this. Get it sent to your house. Go through this and then say, you know what? I need a meeting because I need an adjustment. There needs to be something that moves us forward, and I haven't considered all of this stuff. I mean, why isn't it okay to ask for help at this point? It is the way that we need to do it. Correct?
I think the fear of a lot of folks is just, man, I don't know where to go, and I don't want to be sold something. And that's what I love why I wrote this book. I don't want you to feel like when you come in here, you're going to be sold something. Oh, nay, nay. We take the role as an educator, and we are advisors. We want to help you understand, here are some things you got to be aware of, and here are some potential tracks and some things you can do to get where you want to go. But to do that, you must have a clear understanding of some of the pitfalls. You got to understand your tax debt, wisetaxbill.com. You have to understand you have income reliable. You got to act now, 844-657-1072. I want to thank you for watching for so many years, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for watching Wise Money.
From tax time bombs to Social Security insecurities, strategic investments that help clean up your junk drawer and keep your income engine running smoothly at Omega Wealth Private Capital. We're fiduciary, independent, holistic wealth advisors, and we're here to turn your have-tos into get-tos. So, would you like your retirement dreams to move from good to great? Give us a call. It's what we do because we really want to. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope to see you in the office. Until then, I'm Brad Johansson. We'll see you next time on Wise Money.